Sorry for my late arrival. There's been a few things going on in the Labour Party recently. I also need to stress that I'm speaking in a very personal capacity. And Caroline did just mention then about she hopes that I will be able to speak to the leader of the Labour Party. Clearly, it's not just up to the leader of the Labour Party, it's up to the party membership itself and for people in the PLP and beyond, the affiliates, the trade unions, to begin to grip the issue that we're all here to discuss tonight. I'd like to say a few words tonight about the Labour Party and how I hope we can contribute to the kind of movement and progressive alliance that I think we're all here to talk about tonight. I'll be quite frank, the Labour Party is in a genuine existential crisis. And that means all of us today in an existential crisis. I say that not with any sense of tribal superiority, just simply the idea that any kind of progressive government in this country can't be formed in Britain without the Labour Party playing a key role. It just isn't possible. As I hope is obvious, I have made the decision to stand by Jeremy Corbyn. Now, it would be easy in front of an audience like this one to spend a few minutes basking in some popularity for doing that. And after the last week or so, I would quite enjoy it. But I don't want to spend my time here justifying that choice and rubbishing those in the PLP who have publicly opposed Jeremy's leadership. There's been quite enough of that already, and whatever happens within the PLP over the coming weeks, the great majority of us are going to have to work together again, whatever format that takes. Right now, least said, soonest mended. But I do want to speak a bit about how I think we got where we are today and what that journey might mean for the future. So let's begin with the bad news. The current crisis within the Parliamentary Labour Party is not some silly ego-led squabble between wannabe leaders. It is the expression of a much deeper crisis within the Labour Party and its relationship with its voters. Nor is it a question of repositioning the Labour Party on a simplistic left-right axis. You know, we need to move to the right, or we need to move to the centre. And just in case you think I'm being partisan here, no, it isn't just a question of we need to move to the left either. The fact is that if we think like that, whichever way we move now, we are going to alienate some key parts of our potential electorate. In May 2015, we lost votes to the SNP, to UKIP, and to the Greens, three parties with wildly varying positions on the left-right axis. We failed to win over Tory Labour swing voters. We failed to get anywhere near enough Lib Dems who should have been flocking to us. Where's Vince Cable? Is he? This means the Labour Party is fighting for its survival on several different flanks at once. Politically, that's a very dangerous place to be. And now we have this referendum result, which confirms what May 2015 told us about where many working class voters are going. They feel abandoned by the Labour Party, and now they, in their turn, have abandoned the Labour Party in growing numbers. I know many people in this room will have been shocked by the referendum, and many are still feeling frightened and angry about it. I campaigned, I hope, as hard as anyone for a progressive vision for remaining in, together with other people here today like Caroline Lucas and Neil Lawson somewhere in this room. And I share your reactions. But here's the thing. Had we snuck that win, suppose we'd got 51%, that wouldn't have changed what's happening somewhere down there at ground level. Great swathes of Labour's working class votes would have still voted out. And if Bremain had won, there'd have been lots of Labour Party politicians now making boilerplate speeches about these people, you know, the kind of thing, we have to reconnect with them. We need to listen, blah, 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 blah. And absolutely nothing would have happened. We might have got some working group that would have reported to the leader's office, you know, the kind of thing, a couple of paragraphs on page 8 of The Guardian. But now I think we really have to take notice. As someone once said, this shit, as they say, just got real. And because we aren't there for these people, someone else was. And those someones included UKIP, Rupert Murdoch, and God help us, Boris Johnson and Michael Gove. And UKIP is a party with access to big money. And they can get in there and go after this vote. And if they succeed, all our hopes as British progressives come to an end. We are now forced, absolutely forced, to acknowledge just how divided our society is, and that we failed to show a path that resonated in the hearts of our people. So where do we go now? As I said, I don't mean literally right now in terms of the tragic rift in the Parliamentary Labour Party. I mean, where do we, as a movement, go? I know this is the time for hard, practical thinking, but it seems to me crucial that we rediscover a vision. When I think about the parties that are riding waves of support right now, they all have one, even UKIP. Their vision might not be ours, but by God, they've got one. There was something laughable about UKIP until very recently. Leave the EU, don't be silly. Now, here we are. There was something laughable about the SNP activists doorstepping a Glasgow council estate 20 years ago. Scottish independence, don't be silly. But here we are, and it looks more likely with each year that passes. And that flame of hope and belief that kept the party plodding steadily forward through years of defeats and irrelevance was never put out. It was kept alight. Maybe there isn't something so very laughable about Clyde Cymru's dream of an independent Wales now. Who knows what's happening deep in Welsh hearts? One thing is for sure. Plaid Cymru are never going to sweep to victory by the latest feedback from targeted focus groups in key marginals. It has been a vision that has kept them alive, and if they ever win power, it'll be that same vision that takes them there. What is it that keeps people trudging around the houses, delivering leaflets, or turning out on a drizzly Tuesday night in November to yet another meeting? I am sure many of you have been there. What was it that fueled the founders of the Labour Party through its 40-year slog to government? A slog that took in 2 world wars, the worst recession ever seen, the rise of Nazism and Soviet communism. It was a vision. Yes, there were the nuts and bolts, the crucial practical issues that they could build coalitions around. The hospitals for the sick, the pensions for the elderly, the schools for the young, decent homes for everyone. But it was always more than that. It was giving to ordinary working people a sense of self-respect, a sense of pride, a sense that they and their families and their children were worthy of the same honour as that which was due to the rich and the wealthy and the powerful. That without their full participation, their full acknowledgement, Britain was not Britain. What happened to the passion that built such a vision? How do we find a new one? One thing I know for sure is that a technocratic, managerialist, focus group-led party will not find one. One practical way is to stop with all the bogus listening and actually give people the power to speak. It's pretty simple. It's called proportional representation. Actually, there's a better word for it. It's called democracy. And that's something I, like most of you in this room, really believe in. It's one of the great defences of real progress, and we should never be on the wrong side of it. It's one of the reasons why I won't sign up to attempt for Parliament to overthrow the referendum result. That would be utterly wrong. It would speak of complete contempt for the people. But neither do I believe a bunch of politicians in a back room should now be able to negotiate Brexit on our behalf without the democratic consent of the British people. And if that's a deal that they can't stomach, then we must have the option of remaining in the European Union. So as a starting point, if we rally around the cause of democracy, that very deepest of British political ideals, this country that produced the mother of parliaments, we can begin to build an alliance out of the many strands of the progressive left in this country. Because let's remember, in May 2015, the Tories got just 1 in 4 votes of registered voters. And if you allow for the millions of eligible but unregistered, they got just 1 in 5. This is no unstoppable juggernaut. We really have nothing to fear from them. That then is our starting point. What comes after that? Who knows? It's for the British people to tell us. But I, for one, am ready to find out. Thank you very much.